Hey guys, Chelsea here. This is going to be a tutorial for a magnet holder slash display, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's just a sheet of metal covered in fabric, and it's meant to hold your magnets for bazaars, because you want to have a nice display when you're selling your stuff. That's part of selling it, is displaying it nicely. And this is something I came up with to do it, because to my knowledge there really isn't any magnet displays that you can purchase like you could a jewelry display and whatnot. So basically what I did with this one is these holly leaves and berries I got at Bargain World in a grab bag. So I'm not even sure what they are, but they're in like a satin fabric, and they're kind of puffed up. And this is Christmas themed. You can obviously do whatever theme you want. And I glued one on each corner. And then the snowman was just a... shoot, what do you call it? I am drawing a blank here. But it was just a snowman shape that I painted, tied a piece of fabric around the neck for a scarf, and then the hat was made out of cardboard, and a ribbon was put across it. All the stuff in the middle is just magnets. So the supplies that you will need, and again you can do any kind of theme you want. That one was just Christmas. Supplies that you'll need is a sheet of metal. Can be anything. I make mine out of, I was really happy when I found this in the garage. It's a cover to a computer tower. And if you don't know what that is, if you've only had laptops, since how the old school computers are going out of style now, this is just the siding off an old computer tower. So, and it's really thick metal, and the magnets stick to it really well, even through fabric, in your recycling. So this is one thing I didn't have to buy. My brother used to build computers when we were kids, and we've got all kinds of computer scraps everywhere. So this is one thing that you will need. Second thing you will need is a piece of fabric of your choice. Like I said, you can do whatever theme or not theme that you want to do. This one I'm doing kind of shabby chic. And you want the fabric to be at least 4 inches wider than what your piece of metal is. This is probably even 5 inches. You want it to have a good overhang off all 4 sides, because glue doesn't stick to metal the best. So you really want to have a lot of extra fabric in the back to keep things secure. And this is what the back of this one looks like. It doesn't look great. You could always put another piece of fabric on the back if you wanted to hide this center piece, but nobody's going to see that, so I really don't care. And then the next thing you'll need is some white glue. I like Aleene's tacky glue, original tacky glue, because even though it's super thin, it's super strong for how thin it is. So this is usually what I turn to, and it's affordable. Elmer's white glue is not nearly as strong as this, so I just get some Aleene's tacky glue, but that's just me. I wouldn't use hot glue. It's just not a very strong glue. So, I don't know. Aleene's original tacky is what I would suggest personally. You're also going to need some embellishments or trim. On this particular one, I'm going to be using, I think it's called eyelet trim. Unfortunately, I didn't have any small enough laces with the gathered trim, so this is what I'll be using. And I'm not going to be using any embellishments. I might make a big rose for the corner later, but I'm not going to do that now. And then you're also going to need a large brush, but I usually just use a piece of scrap paper to apply the glue because I'm kind of lazy and I don't want to waste my time washing a brush full of glue. So you may notice that the sides of the computer tower cover, if you're using one of these, some of them have indents. Some of them, I doubt you're going to be able to see it too good on the camera, but this one has a an HP symbol that's coming through. It really doesn't bother me. The fact that I'm recycling makes it worthwhile. But if you're really picky about having indents in it, like this one, or stuff popping out like this one, you can go ahead and get a piece of sheet metal, but like I said, it really doesn't bother me, so it's up to you. And then to prep the tower cover, if you're using one of these, I bend down any sharp edges that there may be. And then it seems on all the covers there's always a lip on one side, and I use this for the top when I'm decorating, you know, putting embellishments on, because when I have it standing up, I can have a stake or a piece of wood back here propping it up, because there's this nice lip here for you. So that's what I would recommend, is having this for the top. So the first thing that you want to do, and don't worry about any holes or air vents that are in these, because the magnets stick. Where did I put that magnet? They stick just fine over these holes, so I wouldn't worry about that either. So the first thing you want to do is generously put on your Aleene's glue, or whatever glue you have chosen to use. And Aleene's is also very affordable, and you need it to be affordable for this. And then I grab my scrap paper and I just go like this. You kind of want to get, oh, just ran my finger through it, darn it. You kind of want to get it pretty thin, not too thin. You need it thick enough that the fabric's going to stick, but not so thick that it'll bleed through the fabric. And with the fabric, you're going to also want to use a regular thin fabric. You don't want anything too thick, or you're going to risk the magnets not being able to connect to the metal behind it. You can always obviously test it before you make your final decision on fabric. And you may want to let this start to get tacky before you put on the fabric, just as an added precaution that it doesn't bleed through the fabric. Because you're gonna, even though this glue dries clear, you're obviously gonna still be able to see it through fabric. So when it dries, because the fabric will dry darker where glue has bled through. Throw that paper away now. Probably would have helped to plug in my gun. That's looking about good. Okay. And I've got my fabric here. You just want to lay it over the top. Try and get it as centered as you can. It's kind of hard doing this the way the camera is. And with the Lean's original tacky glue, you have a little bit of leeway to work with it. Sliding it around, getting it to how you want it. And once you've got it centered, then you want to start smoothing it out. Make sure you get any crevices that are in the middle. And you want to try really hard to avoid wrinkles. They're pretty easy to get out. You just need to notice them before the glue dries. Stretch your fabric a little bit. Do whatever you need to do to get the wrinkles out. I usually don't use such a busy pattern for these, but I don't feel like, I know I've got a lot of choices out in the garage, but I really didn't feel like going out there and looking, so. And I only had enough large fabric of this and that sparkly green one that was on my Christmas one. And I didn't want to do another Christmas one. But doesn't that make you feel good, just recycling? I love recycling. This fabric kind of looks like it's stained, but it's not. It's the yellow coloring they put on it. Okay. So once you've got it all smoothed out, you've got all the wrinkles out, and like I said, remember to shape. This is the crevice that I showed you before I put the fabric on, the crevice in the middle. I'm making sure it's pushed down into the crevice because you still want to be able to, ouch, got my hot glue gun was on. You still want to put a magnet here, so you need to make sure that that the fabric is pressed into this crevice, because you don't want the fabric lifted a 1/4 inch off of this metal. You want it completely flat on all parts. And like I said, just wait a few moments for the glue to get somewhat tacky before you lay the fabric down so that it doesn't bleed through. It's a very important thing to remember. You absolutely cannot do this with hot glue. It's just not gonna work. There's so many things hot glue will not work for. Okay, so once you've got it laid down and flat, I usually wait for this to dry, but just because I'm running a video, I'm gonna go ahead and do this now. So once you have that taken care of, probably shouldn't have thrown away my paper, darn it. I shall not do an art project with my clients' names on it. Okay. Got to tear out my clients' numbers. Alright. So I shouldn't have thrown away the paper that I threw away. That's okay. So you want to grab your white glue again. And you don't want to put glue in the center. The fabric's not going to go in the center. And if you've noticed that you've cut, like here, I've got a little bit more excess than I usually want. So you can go ahead and trim that off if you want to. I'm not going to. And I do one side at a time. It doesn't really matter if the glue bleeds through the fabric in the back. It actually wouldn't be a bad thing because you can't see it, and if it bled through the fabric, then it's obviously going to make it more sturdy. So Do whatever you feel like doing. And then you just want to tightly, very tightly, fold over the fabric, smooth it out. And turn it to a new side. Generously apply your glue. Oops. Forgot about this grating here. I'm going to scoop the glue out of this grate. I don't want it to bleed through the front. Hopefully it didn't. Go ahead. I'm just checking my front look real quick. Doesn't look like the glue bled through. Okay, shoot. Smear your glue again. Probably wouldn't hurt when you're all finished with this to put a coat of Mod Podge on the back. Just to, I think I'm actually gonna trim this corner so that I don't have to worry about gluing it over. And pull it tight. And a lot of times you'll have to go back because you've got several layers of fabric on the corners. You'll have to go back and glue down these loose flaps if the glue didn't bleed down to those flaps. It's not a big deal, it's just something you have to go back and do if the glue doesn't bleed down to it. Yeah. Trimming some extra. Okay, this time I'm going to be careful not to put glue in the grate. Unless it's over fabric. Extra. I don't know. Getting glue everywhere, guys. This is why I use scrap paper. It would just be a mess to clean up after a brush. Clean the brush up, you know. Maybe I should put my glue shaped soaked paper on what it's supposed to be sitting on. Pull it tight, fold it over. Said doesn't have to be pretty. No one's gonna see it. The front is gonna be pretty, but the back doesn't have to be pretty. Okay, final side. My hands are encased in glue. I'm not being very careful because I'm rushing. Like I said, don't be afraid to lay the glue on real thick and heavy on the back. You want it to bleed through the fabric on the back, but you do not want it to bleed through on the front. So the front, thin, tacky layer, back, thick, wet layer. And like I said, just go back and glue these extra flops of fabric down in the corners. And then a lot of time, just to be safe, I'll take like E6000 glue and I'll go around the rim because it's a little bit loose here. It's down pretty good on two of the sides, but on two it's not. And I'll take a heavier glue and go down here, but if you soak it real good with the original tacky glue, it shouldn't be a problem. Trying to get some of the glue off my hands. I don't want it on my trim. So I recommend letting this completely dry before you put on the embellishments. And the embellishments is completely up to you. And so is the stand. A lot of times I'll just grab a piece of scrap wood molding, you know, like you'd put up along the ceiling in a bedroom, you know, like wood molding, or any thin scrap wood. That's why I said I like to have the lip on the top, that I've chosen this side to be my top, and I have the lip here so that the wood can be propped right underneath the lip. And then when it's time to dismantle your display, you can just take the propped wood out of the lip that's right here, and then you can lay this flat in your car for better stacking of loads of items. So let's pretend that this is dry. Hopefully nothing bled through. Okay. So once you got that done, not too happy with this grate here. The other, the Christmas one I did, it didn't have this air ventilation grate. And next time I know I'll be really careful when I'm going over with glue, because the well's filled with glue. And I'll probably leave it right side up to dry so that the glue doesn't come down by gravity through the fabric. But I'm really worried about it bleeding through right here. But it should be fine. It should be fine. So once it's dry, and I'm not going to do it because I'm going to wait till my piece is dry. But then you want to go ahead and go ahead with your trim and embellishments, whatever you choose to do. And I'm just going to have this eyelet lace or trim going all the way around it. And like I said, later on I'll probably make a big rose to go in the corner. And then you'll have a beautiful display for your magnets. I just thought it was a really cool idea to, to recycle an item. Obviously you could turn this into scrap metal, but get some money for scrap metal. but it just makes a really beautiful display. And it's really cheap. Obviously, you can just use things that you have lying around the house. And I happen to have this eyelet trim, so I didn't purchase anything to make this. Any questions, just ask. I would love to see other people's displays that they've made for their crafts. If they've made it out of recycled materials, that would be really cool to see, because I'm always trying to think of ways to recycle things. And it's not that I can't afford to buy things in craft stores and stuff like that, but quite frankly, when I turn something that would have been thrown away into something really awesome or pretty, you know, it just makes me feel good. So this is what I like to do. I like to recycle and make things out of things that were someone's trash. So I don't know. Any comments or questions? Like I said, just leave a message. I'd be happy to answer anybody's questions or comments. But let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Bye.